It was another day. We knocked the door of one of their neighbors because our bunny went to their house. And this conversation I had with this neighbor, OMG, I felt awkward because when we talk about, oh yeah, I've heard someone from your house playing piano and drums. Okay, so we'll be very noisy. And that means you heard I was screaming too? No. Well, I do not scream a lot, but I do scream at my kids when it's that kind of a day. Are you familiar that we are not just struggling with life when it comes to communication, when we lose our patience, we also struggle when it comes to business. And because of lacking great communication, it caused us lost millions and billions of business closing. I have learned a big time from there. So today I'm here to unlock the mistakes and the pains, how we can conquer those mistakes and pains so that in the future we don't have to lose deals. We don't have to break relationships. Here are the top communication pains for global leaders and high performers. I've been working in corporate world for more than 17 years before I start my own thing. I've been in the whole business world for more than 20 years, and I've learned a big time. I've learned about those pains and things that I was struggling. I didn't realize one thing that can solve the problem is when I sharpen my tools and skills of communication. So the first thing I recognize that is many leaders will assume alignment and not really actual clarity. People will say things like, so you got this and that and this and that. So you get it? But many people didn't get it, but they don't even allow time to communicate or listen and they just shift to the next topic. That's why people don't get it. And what happened is it became such a pain, which I suffered a lot from there that and I was like being so frustrated. I told you this. Why didn't you follow my instructions? It was really, really hard. And that is because we think everyone gets it, but vision isn't shared. It is in fact assumed, which is really not good. The cost of that is you missed deadlines, you have duplicate work, it broke trust, it lost deals as well. Now, the second biggest problem for us to have is power over presence. As a leader, we are high demanding humans because we also give us high standard, which I completely understand. But one day I remember I was talking to my one of my team members. I spent like 45 minutes on the call and I felt draining. I felt like, why did you get it? Why is that? I was so angry, so frustrated. And I said, no matter what, you need to get it done. Like I'm using the power rather than being at present. What does it mean? Be at present means you are listening to their response, not just keep throwing and speaking. And that was one of the biggest mistakes I've made as well. So what we do is we rely on authority instead of connection. We always think communication means you are the one who's going to speak, but communication means communicate. It's more than one party. Most of the time, as leaders, we just become a speaker rather than a communicator. And the cost of that is teams comply and don't commit, even though they comply, but they don't commit. And also clients agree, but they don't renew anymore. You find that the clients are leaving because you think what you think is right, but it's not about being right. It's about being understandable, being connecting with the client and listening to them, not just speaking to get what you want. And the third pain point, which is, and the biggest problem is talking too much, listening too little. Usually the CEOs that I've seen, well, when I say that, I was one of them. Sometimes I might still be one of them. I'm learning, I'm improving, I realized that I talk really a lot. Well, sometimes you cannot avoid that because you need to train your team, coach your team, and that's understandable. But I'm talking more about the other situations. Instead of we baby feed our team or your staff, you can give them an opportunity to grow. Instead of telling them what to do, we tend to talk too much and listen too little. What happens is we broadcast instead of discovering because there's a lot of hidden reasons and things on why they're not doing what you ask them to do. And the cost of that is we missed objections. We can't even find unseen opportunities. Like we just missed all these opportunities and we stored negotiations. We lost a lot of opportunities throughout the way because we don't allow time to listen. One of the top advice for being the best sales in the world is to listen more than speaking. And that helps people to close millions and billions of dollars deals. And that is number one, highest priority, my friend. The fourth pain point about those mistakes that CEOs and high performers made is emotionally flat messaging. For example, they always communicate logically, not meaning, no depth, just surface. It's just transactions. Come on. I was on a call with someone, not showing the name, but that person was like back to the call. It's like, yeah, I'm so busy. It's all about that person. He keeps talking about himself, like, I've been this, I've been that. I don't need to meet anyone. My life is awesome. It's all about him. And the problem is also when we talk about anything, I want to deep dive a little bit further about how you're being, like really just about as human wise, person just like, oh, why is talking about that? I'm just talking about business. That's it. Don't waste my time. But if you become like that, the problem is you cannot really get people to trust you because all your mind is focused on just closing deals and transactions. And that is one of my biggest mistakes I ever made that lost millions of dollars of deals in the past few years because I'm not always like that. But whenever that day was stressful and thinking about transactions, it will always end up being a disaster. About 2 years ago, I started to change my whole mindset. I started to remind myself that it's never just about me. I'm here to serve because when I provide value, money, treasure, wealth, they will follow. And that is the truth, my friend. So the fourth problem is they just communicating with logic, not meaning. And the cost of that is no buying, no loyalty, no movement. The number five problem about the pain points is unspoken expectations. So we as high performers expect mind reading instead of clarity. We think if we know it, that's a common sense, our team will get it. My friend, I've tried so many times. Let me tell you, as a rounder, that's not true because every time I assume my team got it, sometimes they don't. And if I don't listen to them, if I don't clarify with them, they will just be like, next time it become a disaster. I'm angry, I'm draining. They feel draining by all these conversations. What I did was I started to be more intentional and understand about why it's stopping them. Most of the time, it's the emotions and their mindset that's stopping them from doing what they can do. So when I shift that, the result immediately turned to be a better one. So the cost of number five is resentment, underperformance, and silent quitting. The team member just gonna say, "I resign, see you, never see you again," and they just leave. Of course, if you say, "Oh yeah, I don't care that people they're not really contributing, I can definitely replace anyone in my company." Well, that's good if you think that person is not valuable, but most of the time, they're the assets of your company and you invest in these people. If you lose one person, you're literally giving one person to the competitor who's going to have the investment that you paid to their place, which is still not very good. And the reason number six is conflict avoidance. What does it mean? They delay hard conversations. I have many CEO friends and coaching mentor clients. They always have this conversation. They're like, I don't want to have that conversation. It's just too much. They keep going, keep doing work. They become workaholic, which I love my work as well. I do a lot, but I'm not here to judge about loving your work. It's more about, there's something that you have to face. Something goes wrong. If you don't check it, if you don't face it, it can become a disaster. Just like when you have a little lump, it's just a lump, but the lump is there for like 10 years, it becomes a cancer. That's not good. Because if you discover the lump, you just need to deal with it. It'll be an easy case to deal with it. I know that demonstration is a bit disgusting, but that's exactly what happened, my friend. Now, that delaying of hard conversation caused you problems grow in dark and explode in public. That happens all the time, not just in the workplace, but also in your family place as well. It's damaging and ruining your relationship with your friends, your family. So don't let that conversation waiting for too long. Be courageous, be honest, be calm, facing the conversation. There's always ways how you can communicate in a nice way. And I'm so thankful that throughout the years, all these hard conversations made every relationship of my life flourishing because I become more honest, transparent. There's nothing I need to hide. I speak exactly in front of that person what I want to tell that person. And at the back of that person, I only say good things about that person. That's why I'm always light. I don't feel burdened or weighted because I know I have nothing to hide. And that is a very healthy way to deal with all the hard conversations. And then number seven is culture blind spots for global leaders. They speak their culture instead of the room's culture. So the cost of that is international deals fall apart, partnerships quietly die. Nowadays, we are already interconnected. We're already international. Even though you're in any different countries, you will see people from other countries appearing in your country anyway. So we are really earthmate. But the truth is, behind that, we do have diversities. We do have different cultures, backgrounds, and everything. In order to make everything more flourishing and make the communication and connection and relationship stronger, we need to also understand that the cultural blind spots that we need to not avoid it, but face it so that we can understand more about each other. I remember when I was reading the Bible, it says something about why you're angry and things like that. And I realized there's something in Proverbs. It says really, really clearly that every time a fight or any quarrel, argument really comes from misunderstandings because we are speaking the truth of ourselves, which we cannot argue from others' truth. I cannot argue your truth. You cannot argue my truth because what I believe is what I believe. What you believe is what you believe. But the difference is if you choose to understand what others are thinking, just like people see a elephant, one sees elephant's face, head, and the other one standing on the other side seeing the butt. And none of them is wrong, but it's about swap the role, think about the conversation, think about the other perspective, and then you can come up with understanding. At least with understanding, you can avoid an argument. And then the next thing what you need to do is really alignment. It doesn't have to be you need to agree with each other because we have free choice. When you choose to believe in something, you have that choice. When I choose to believe in something, I have that choice. But the key here is the foundation here is we still need to keep loving, supporting, and keep the culture healthy and safe. The number eight, let's talk about the home culture, the home top pain points when communication isn't in the right place. Transactional conversation. What does it mean? They manage their family like a business. That was my mistake. There was a time when I started my business for a little bit and I started to talk to people and I was so frustrated because it's a community I'm in. And then the way how I speak to them just feel like I'm the boss and very bossy. And my husband was very mindful because he's scared of telling me, but he has to tell me. And I keep asking him, hey, tell me this, tell me that. I'm a person who's quite open, transparent. I want to hear the truth. And I really, I'm willing to accept the truth. If there's some different perspective, I will think and digest. And he ended up telling me you can't talk to the people in community just like the way how you talk to a team and in the corporate world. I was like, ah, really? That's true. And then start to really have to separate myself from different, like, you change your hat, you change this hat to talk to them, and you change another hat to talk to another person. And what happened is, if you don't listen to this mistake I've made as well, is the cost of that is emotional distance. People won't want to talk to you. They don't want to share with you the truth or their feelings. And there's also misunderstood intentions. Even if you have good intention, they will be misunderstood. They think you have bad intention because of the way how you talk to them, like very transactional. And weekend bonds as well. It's really a damage for any relationship if you use that kind of leadership power in the house, leading everything. I've learned that when I'm in an environment that there's other leaders in the room, even though I know to some degree, for some expertise, I'm better than that person, but they have something that I can learn from as well. So really, we shouldn't be comparing with anyone. Everyone can be good, and we can always learn from each other. And that's how I changed my perspective. I become much more humble, and I realized that that will also make me feel better and to be more grounded and to learn more as well. Number nine, unavailable presence. That is the biggest mistake as well we've ever made. Physical home, mentally in meetings. I am still doing that, but very little now. It's really just a few nights that in a month I know I need to go through the evening course because I have partners in Europe, and sometimes I need to be very early in the morning because I have someone in USA that I need to talk to. Well, living in Australia is an amazing privilege, but not privileged when it comes to time because we're always too early or too late for everywhere else in the world. Anyhow, that story is telling you, my friend, that children will stop sharing, partners stop asking. It is really why there are so many successful entrepreneurs in business, but they lose attention, connection, and even marriage. They got divorced, they got distanced with their kids. That is not good, my friend, because your family is still your foundation. They are way more important than your business, or you can say they're fairly important because you're building the business for the future for your family. But if you lose your family, what's the point? You're still building the business. So remember that mistake, unavailable presence, is a big one. Always be at present. You can set up a time. It doesn't have to be long. Quality is better than quantity. I remember billionaire Grant Cardone once shared that I'm just using his way how to say I don't need to spend too much time with my kids, like an hour or two in the morning. That's it. And then here you go. Don't bother me because he needs to focus on what he does. But it doesn't mean he doesn't love his kids. He loves them so much. And I understand how he says that. Maybe the way how he says it's a little bit mean, but he has his point. And the here is we have to get rid of the guilt when we need to do work, but we also need to be at present when we are with your family and my family. Well, one day my kids just come to me, Mom, you're not playing with us anymore. You're always working. They complain. I need to digest that. Yeah, a great reminder, but I will always turn back to them and spend some time. But some days it's a season that I really have to focus and sacrifice some of the time with them. Then I will make it up in the next few weeks or so. So it's really about your choice and your control. But the main thing here is you need to have self-awareness and you know what you're doing and you don't need to feel guilty as long as you are always at present. And number 10, winning arguments, losing relationships. That is really not good because they prioritize being right over being connected as global high achievers. Well, again, I'm one of you guys. I'm one of them. That is why I remember one of the biggest advice I've heard is choose your battle. Don't fight. And there's a story which is pretty funny and it's very memorable if you listen to that story. So the story says, I'm pretty sure it's a tiger and the donkey who are arguing, and the tiger said the grass is green, and the donkey said no, the grass is blue. And then they keep arguing, and then they end up saying, okay, let's ask the Lion King. So they went to the lion and asked, hey, the donkey said, hey, the grass is blue, right? And then the Lion King said, yes, it is blue. Yay! I'm so happy. You need to punish Tiger. And the tiger was very confused. Why? It's green. Why you say it's blue? So the donkey was very happy, so it left. Then the lion said to Tiger, you know, we don't argue with fools. If we argue with them, we also become fools. And that is saying that if you are right, you are right. Even if you argue, it doesn't change the fact that you're right. If you don't argue, at least you save your energy to argue with fools. Isn't that fascinating, my friend? But I've learned that too, because sometimes I can become the donkey. I can argue in things that really doesn't matter. It's a journey of growth and learning. It's never about being perfect, but at least being aware of this will help us to become so much stronger and better. Number 11, unspoken pressure of success. They carry stress silently, and which is really unhealthy sometimes. And what I've learned, my friend, the cause of that is emotional disconnect, burnout, invisible loneliness. There was a time I was like working very hard. I was like, I started to become this victim. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. I was like, why is always me working so hard? Why is always me working long hours? Why everyone's relying on me? Why I'm carrying everything on my shoulder? How about that? Them? How about they? They can do something too. I'll start to be like you and me, and about you and them. But really, everything we're doing is our own choice. We take the ownership on every decision that we have made. And the moment when I realized that, I would never want to become a victim again and think about me, or feeling like, oh, I'm the hero, everybody is zero. That's not true. We are all interconnected. We are interdependent with each other. And I need my family. Without them, I cannot have that driven factor to work harder. But working harder is really something that I decide to do it. I can decide not to work harder that day. It's completely up to me. That is why don't let unspoken pressure of success weight you down. Instead, I become so passionate and joyful when there's some stress, not like massive stress, like stress. I know that we can turn stress to pressure and then to pleasure, because usually that's where it drives us with amazing desire, amazing results. Because if there's no driving factor, you're just very comfortable on where you are. Now, there are three top core communication principles I want to share with you, because there's a lot of mistakes we've made and about the pain points. In order to remember this, how we're going to deal with those problems, it's pretty simple. There are three top principles. Principle number one, words create worlds. You don't describe reality, you define it. Leaders don't speak to inform, they speak to transform. So your team doesn't follow your instructions, they follow your interpretation of reality. That's principle number one. Principle number two, connection before direction. If you haven't even connect with that person, you say, hey, you need to do this. Ooh, that's so rude. I'm not listening to you. One thing we have to remember is we're not dealing with walls, papers, machines. We're dealing with people. People have feelings, and we all want to be connected. We all want to be loved, respected. That is why people don't follow plans. They follow people who understand them. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Remember that? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Principle number three, delivery is a message. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. Because I remember I was talking to my family and she's like talking to me. I was like, so yeah, then what? Like I was in a rush, it was quite straightforward. And she was like, why you hate me? Why you being so rude and so mean? I was like, oh no, I was just responding to you. And that conversation becomes endless because of the way how I say it. And I regret it. Oh my gosh, I should say it in a nice way with a big smile. So tell me what happened, right? It makes a huge difference. So remember, your voice is not a sound. It's a signal of leadership. That's three principles. Now, 10 speaker level key teachings here I want to share with you quickly, which is reflecting the 11 mistakes we shared earlier. The first one, speak in outcomes, not instructions. High performers don't want tasks. They want ownership. Tell people where you're going, not just what to do. And that is the number one fact you can use to close millions and billions of dollars of deals because people only want to know where they're going to rather than knowing all this complicated process. Number two, emotion is engine of action. Logic explains, emotion moves. If they don't feel it, they won't follow it and they won't do it. Trust me. Because every time when we do something, it's like we want to do something. Want is a big word that connect directly to our feelings. Number three, silence is a strategy. The most powerful leaders know when to stop talking. Silence creates authority and space for truth. If you realize that you've been talking from beginning to end, you're not growing in your leadership skills. You're not allowing people to communicate with you. You're just speaking for speaking. Number four, repetition builds belief. What's repeated becomes culture. What's not repeated becomes forgotten. Number five, certainty transfers. If you sound unsure, people feel unsafe. If you sound grounded, people lean in. They want to know more. Why are you so confident? Why are you saying that? They want to know more. And number six, questions are more powerful than answers. It is so profound when you know how to ask questions because you don't want to be a leader to tell people what to do. You want to be a leader to guide them to find out what they can do. So they become their answers, not your answer, but you are the one make that happen for them. Leaders who ask well don't control people, they activate them. Activate is the word. Number seven, identity-based communication. Don't speak to what people do, speak to who they believe they are. Whenever you say, hey, I believe in you, I know you can do that, I know you're capable than this, more capable than that, they will find ways to the solutions rather than tell them, you should be doing this, you should do that, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. That's why you never get another leader who can take over, who can save your time. You're just going to be hiring yourself and do your own job just from a different employers. You don't want to be that. So you are not a salesman or you're not a sales team. You are marketing leaders in the making. When you say that to your team, they feel immediately empowered. Number eight, conflict is a door, not a wall. Handled well, conflict builds respect. Avoided, it builds distance. You know that you're familiar with those conversations that you know people are saying something that you don't agree. And it's a good thing because when you are willing to understand about it, handle it well, you'll turn around to become deeper and better than you think. And the result will be awesome. You don't need to build enemies. You can build more friends because of that. It's not a wall. It's a door to another level. Number nine, energy enters the room before you do. Your emotional state becomes an emotional climate. That's why when I work in the rooms, oh, I like your energy. You're so energetic. And that's me. When I haven't started spoken, I already have my energy there because I want to be at present. And that makes a huge difference. People love energies, of course. Without energy, it's dead. It's dead. You don't like that. You feel, oh, what's wrong here? Feeling dying. Energy is number one. And number 10, legacy language. Short-term words create short-term results. Legacy words create cultures that outlive you. It's all about leaving a legacy, especially for high performers. I understand you, but when you talk to another group of high performers, remember, use the legacy words rather than just short-term words. Every deal you lost, every relationship that faded, every opportunity that slipped away didn't disappear because of strategy. It disappeared because of a conversation that never happened the right way. Today, you don't just live here as a leader who speaks. You live as a leader who shapes reality with your words. Thank you, my friend. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.